increasing. Because of that visibility, we felt that it would be a good time to take a few minutes this evening to provide a general update to the council and the public so they can better understand where things stand today and what the next phases of the development will look like. As a reminder, the development agreement and the zoning approvals that are associated with this project were previously reviewed and approved by the town council following our standard planning and public hearing processes. And since that time, the project has moved from the planning stage and into the implementation stage, where the town's role is to administer the development agreement and to ensure that construction proceeds in accordance with the approved plans and applicable ordinances. Tonight's discussion is not intended to revisit those prior approvals or reopen policy decisions that were made at that time. Rather, the goal here is simply to provide an informational update so that everyone has a clearer understanding of the project as it continues to move forward. We thought that it would be most helpful to do that would be to hear directly from two individuals who have been really closely tied to this project. First, we're going to hear from Brad Yoder as a representative of D.R. Horton, and Brad will provide just a brief overview of the project, including where construction currently stands, what the anticipated timelines look like as additional phases of development continue to move forward. And following Brad's remarks, our planning director, Jose Colon, will give us a moment to provide a short overview of how the project is being administered from the town's perspective, including how the development agreements and planning approvals guide the construction process as the homes and infrastructure are built. Together, their presentations should provide a helpful snapshot of where the project stands today and how the town continues to monitor and administer the development as it progresses. Before tonight's meeting, I reached out to the council to see if there were any specific questions that you would like us to address as part of the update, and we did not receive any in advance, but if questions come up this evening, we'll do our best to answer them. But if there are items that we cannot answer right away, we'll make note of those and follow up with additional information after the meeting. After those brief updates, council has an opportunity to ask clarifying questions if there are any, and then we transition into the rest of our agenda for the evening. And a little bit later this evening, we'll be hearing from our legislative lobbyists who will provide an update on the upcoming legislative session and any issues that might affect municipalities such as ours across the state. We'll also spend some time discussing the council's priorities and goals as we begin thinking about our legislative agenda for the year ahead. To start us off, we do appreciate D.R. Horton taking the time to join us and provide an update. So Brad, thank you for being here tonight, and I'll ask you to come up and I'll turn it over to you. Thanks.
Hey guys. A lot of new faces. I am Brad Yoder. I work on behalf of D.R. Horton. I'm the land acquisition manager for the Carolinas region. And I'd say first and foremost, congratulations on your seats. All new faces, or almost all new faces here, so it's good to meet you. Kinsley as a community has done exceptionally well. It's been a long time coming. As Matt had said before, I think framed it perfectly, that I'd like to just give you a quick snapshot of where we are. And if there are very specific questions, with intricate land development questions, intricate construction questions, I'm happy to address those, but it may be best in the form of emails so I can get department-specific items back to you. So I'll do my best to address what I can today. But ultimately, if there's something that I can't answer or don't feel comfortable answering this evening, I'll be sure to get back to you. So ultimately, we've been working on this, gosh, Matt, for several years. It's a long time coming to get to the point where we're now vertical. We have yet to finish our model homes, but before even finishing model homes, before we even have an amenity built, we're already 8 sales in, going into the spring, which is outstanding for any community. As anyone in real estate will tell you, it's like usually having model homes built really helps trigger the interest, spurs everybody to get going. But it feels like the interest rates are at a stabilization level. It feels like nationally we've got all this pent-up demand for housing stock. So it does feel, going into the spring, we have a very strong position. So to date, we've started 25 single-family homes and 9 townhomes. We do expect this to move very swiftly. We're currently priced in the mid-400s, mid to high 400s, and in current design for both Phase 2 and Phase 6. Phase 2 of our community is going to be inclusive of our amenitization, which you'd see on Guilford College Road. It's going to blow you away. We're excited to get to it. It's going to help everything with the community. but ultimately that's going to be the wow factor to our community. So we've had all this interest. It's moving forward at a swift pace, but without the big bullets in our clip, which is that amenity package that we're going to have up there. So we're excited to get to it. We are hoping to get to it next year. So obviously it's in a design phases, approval phases. We have to permit it, but we'd love to be working on this amenity package sometime next year. So the sales process has gone exceptionally well. We have found there to be a tremendous interest in living in Jamestown. So kudos to all of you who have created an outstanding environment to produce, I guess, an easy community for sales for us, because with everything that you're doing is another sales piece for us is, hey, you get to live in Jamestown. So ultimately, we're very pleased where things are to date. Our phase 2 design should complete where we're working on phase 2 in the amenity side next year. Phase 6, we're also designing right now, which would be inclusive of our higher end homes for the community. That's in the back. So we would expect to get that hopefully by the end of this year, early next year as well. So, you know, overall, the blanket perspective is that we've got a winner here. D.R. Horton is extremely happy. We're excited for the sales that we've had. We're extremely eager to get to the sales to come. And if there's anything I can address with you this evening, I'd love to do it.
Brad, I went,
Yes, ma'am.
visited with Pam, I guess it was the one model home that's open right now.
Mm-hmm.
And just in the ranking as far as quality and materials, and is that like a mid-range or an
It is.
upper range?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was the villas, is that right? The villas?
That's correct. Yeah, that is not going to be the higher priced home that's in the community, but those homes are currently selling in the mid to upper 400s.
Yeah, and about how many of those are planned?
I'm sorry?
How many are you building?
There's going to be a couple hundred of those.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
I just had one question. So there's, again, I wasn't involved with all this when it first was approved.
Yeah, new face.
But the question is, in terms of what you're developing right now, I know there was a sort of a specified number of units for housing and then a specified number of units for apartments. Mm-hmm. Do you have any update for us tonight about what you're planning in the way of total number of units, both on the housing side and the apartment side?
So we were approved for 1,500 units here. However, the community will not hit that number. So, you know, on the apartment side, I know that they're going to come short of their 500 number, which was the maximum that we were approved for over there. So I'd give you the 300 and change as the answer. I don't have the exact number because, of course, until it's developed and finished out, those things can navigate. But we were approved up to 500 there.
Okay. And then housing-wise, you're looking at what, 1,000 units still?
That'd be the max on that side too. And again, you know, we're hoping to achieve that number just because that makes it a better community for everyone. But I would imagine something close to that. Until it's done, there's really no way to tell because you gain lots, you lose lots here and there based on the development.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
I'm sorry, you mentioned the amenity package.
Yes, sir.
It was a big bullet, magic bullet. I can't remember exactly which phrase you used, but can you give a...
Well, the magic bullet, maybe I said that, yeah.
What that entails, what that looks like? Because you said it's a great thing for the community.
Well,
so what is that?
So I'm reluctant to show that to you or explain in detail what we're hoping to achieve there. However, what I'd say is just generally is that until it's finished with design and finished with permitting, at that point, we could disclose exactly what it's going to be. Until then, I think I'd rather not commit and set the inappropriate expectations. So until it's finished in design, finished in permitting, then at that point, we could tell you exactly what it's going to be.
Can you tell me basically what it would be like?
Sure.
Is it a swing
Pool
set, or
clubhouse,
is it
you know, what you would expect in any large community.
Okay.
You said the 400 in the mid to 400s. Is that also for the townhomes?
We haven't sold a townhome yet, I don't believe.
Oh.
So we're currently averaging 465 as our ASP right now.
Okay.
Brad, the square footage for both homes and the townhomes, do you approximate square footages on those?
Townhomes will range in the 1,500 to 2,400 average square footage. We have two different products planned for the community. One's a 22-foot wide, one's a 26-foot wide. The 26s go up to roughly 2,400 and change square foot. 22s are going to range because there's 3 different types of units, so those would be sub 2,000 square feet. With single family, you're going to range somewhere in the averaging in the 2,000s.
Ample parking? Parking?
Oh, well, absolutely. I mean,
I know there's garages, but on-street parking?
So these will be DOT-approved roads, which you can park on. However, all of the homes, single-family homes have, I think all, have 2-car garages and then driveways to accommodate the 2-car garage. The 22-foot townhomes have 1-car garages and parking to associate with that.
Okay, so I know there's been a lot of concern about stormwater and retention ponds. When I was over there the other day, there was a huge retention pond that was bigger than I expected to see, and it looked like it was sort of terraced or something. Are those?
That's not our amenity, by the way. That's not a pool, so
Oh,
that ain't it. All right.
does that sort of change as you're building the development, the location of those ponds? I mean, how does that work?
There will be multiple ponds throughout the community. It's based on erosion and how we accommodate any sort of stormwater runoff.
Do you know?
So ponds can remain open as permanent ponds, or ponds can also be closed per phase, depending on if it's still necessary to remain open.
Okay, interesting.
And so much more detailed I'd want to discuss with our development manager.
Okay.
So since I buy land, and I'm not the developer on the site. So if there's very specific development questions, I'd want to probably stop you right there and say, look, I'd want to go talk to Marty and make sure that he has his weigh in on that.
Sure. And on the villas, the siding, I just, because I don't know enough about siding, it was sort of I guess it wasn't quite wood. Is that
It's cementous siding.
cementous? Okay. Thanks.
Sure.
Can we get your email?
Sure. Yeah, it's bhyoder, and that's YODER @drhorton.com.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Brad, can a potential purchaser request to change any of the floor plans?
No, ma'am.
So it is as what's put out is, that's it?
That's
So
correct.
if there's anything that says like, okay, I don't want my fireplace in this particular position, can we have it moved over here?
Oh, no. It's those plans are designed to produce both efficiency and value for the future home buyer. So doing that would endeavor in a custom situation, and that's just not, we were a production builder.
No custom. Thanks.
Sure.
Okay, so the development agreement I know was amended and restated, and I actually went through it, and it looked like most of it seemed to deal with the apartments, and that it's.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you just talk a little bit about what that is, the change in management, I think?
So I would prefer that our apartment group speak to that. So if there's something specific to that question, I'd rather address it with DHI Communities. It is a wing of our company. So, and I just don't manage them, so.
Generally, so it looks like the apartments are just put with a management company that is a division of D.R. Horton.
That's
You said
correct.
a wing of your company, and they do a better, I guess that's their role, is to manage the apartments.
That's correct. Yes, ma'am.
Is there anything else that would be different about that? Like, they get their own set of amenities or parking, or are they fenced off, or?
They would run it as if it's its own phase of our blanket community as Kinsley.
Yeah.
So they would run it, they would develop it themselves as their own entity, and then determine I guess the developmental cycle as well as the construction cycles there, and manage it on their own.
Okay.
So our local operation here in Greensboro, well, we're located in Highwood, it's called the Greensboro operation now. We handle the single family and townhome side of it.
Okay. And I thought it was impressive that it went from 500 to 320 is actually the apartment number. And then I think with 40 cottages. What are our cottages? What's that?
I believe they're still branding those as casitas.
Casitas?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that more than one family in a casita, or like?
I cannot speak to
double?
that. We have not built that product here locally, and I was
Oh,
just,
okay.
again, I'd want to lean on them because it would be new to me too. So I don't want to just assume and be wrong. I'd rather say that if there's specific questions around what DHI Community is going to do, I'd love to address that specific with them and get back to you. That's okay.
I think too, we got a lot of our questions answered before, so does anybody else have anything?
No.
Bring up right
Not for
now?
Brad.
Okay, all right, thank you, Brad.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Brad.
Thanks,
Nice to
Brad.
meet y'all. Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, have a good evening.
All right, and Jose, you're going to talk with us a little more about this.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Thank you.
So this evening, I will be providing a brief update on the Kinsley development located off of Mackey Road, and I'll also be talking about the Ascend Kinsley and hopefully address some of the questions that you had for Brad. I have some visuals and a PowerPoint that has some of the numbers and some explanation on the development agreement. So we'll go ahead and get started. All right, so the purpose of the presentation is to provide council and the community with an overview of where we are at with the Kinsley development as it stands today. We will briefly review the history of the project, so I'll take you back through memory lane. You may not want to go back, but we will go back. The history of the project from the beginning of the original Diamondback rezoning proposal, discuss the development approval process, so you have a strong understanding of how it works, and provide an update on the construction activities currently underway by DR Shore and DHI Communities. And I'm going to talk about the Kinsley subdivision and then Ascend Kinsley separate, and I'm going to do that on purpose so we can kind of set the stage for why we amended the agreement. So the Kinsley development is a large master plan of residential community located off Mackey Road. The project includes a mix of housing types, and it is being developed in multiple phases. Approximately, the development is 637 single-family homes and 345 townhomes. That's kind of the latest detail that I've gotten from the D.R. Horton community. In addition to residential development, the project also includes amenities and open space, areas designed to serve the community. The developer and primary home builder, of course, is D.R. Horton, one of the largest residential builders in the United States. The project is governed by an approved rezoning and a development agreement with the town, which establishes specific development standards and commitments. Ascend Kinsley, it's in addition to the townhome and single-family development, the project also includes a multifamily component known as Ascend Kinsley. This is known as Phase 3 of the project, and the main access of that will be on Guilford College Road. The apartment community will include 320 traditional apartment units and 40 cottage or casita style units, which are actually going to be duplexes. So they're going to be 2 dwelling units per building. So there are 20 of those buildings,
Okay.
360 units in total. This portion of the project is being developed by DHI Communities, which is the multifamily division of D.R. Horton. Like the residential subdivision, this development is also governed by the approved rezoning and development agreement with the town. And I know it's a little hard to see, and I just want to note that the north arrow is that way, so don't twist your neck too hard and hurt yourself, but we have 6 phases in total. So here is Guilford College Road, Mackey Road here, and then Guilford Road, and there will be a main access there. So there's currently 6 phases, and phase 3 being the multifamily project here along Guilford College Road. Let's see here, slide number 6. Just want to go through the history of the project, very brief. 2020, the original developer, Diamondback, submitted a rezoning request for the property. In 2021, after review and public discussion with the town council denied the original rezoning proposal. Later in 2021, D.R. Horton acquired the property and began working with the town on a revised development concept. 2022, the town considered a revised rezoning proposal along with a land development ordinance amendment and development agreement. On January 2023, town council approved the rezoning, LDO amendment, and development agreement for the Kinsley project. 24 and 25, when I got here, the project moved through the subdivision review, engineering approvals, infrastructure planning, and site construction. And as of late 2025 and 2026, development clearance certificates, which are zoning approvals in the town, were issued for vertical construction to begin. The purpose of the development agreement is a legally binding agreement between the town and Town of Jamestown and the developer. This tool is commonly used for larger developments because it allows the town to establish specific development commitments that go beyond the base zoning regulations. For Kinsley, the agreement addresses overall project layout, housing types, and density, amenities and open space, buffers and design standards, infrastructure responsibilities, and development phasing. This agreement helps ensure the project is built in accordance with what was presented and approved by Town Council. The amended and restated development agreement. So on April 2025, the development agreement was amended and restated. I want to make clear that no changes were made to the development standards and conditions to the development itself. The purpose in the amendment of the agreement was primarily administrative and organizational, and it clarified the provisions that were related to the multifamily portion of the project, specifically Aston Kinsley apartments. For example, the amendment clarified that the apartment site was not subject to the HOA. Because as a rental community, it wasn't a part of the HOA, and that agreement kind of lumped everything together. So the restated agreement kind of broke that out. Clarification was necessary, and they actually needed this to close on the property to ensure that everything was clean, and it did get reviewed several times to ensure that the multifamily portion was still tied to the development agreement, and that it was only tied to the portions that was specific to the multifamily portion. Subdivision and development process. So I just want to go overall kind of a quick and dirty process for how we review subdivisions in the town. So once the rezoning and development agreement were approved, the project moves into the subdivision approval process. So this process ensures that the detailed design of the development complies with the town's land development ordinance, engineering standards, as well as the development agreement. And this includes reviewing street layout, utilities, stormwater infrastructure, lot configuration, and engineering design. Once those requirements are satisfied, the town can approve the final subdivision plats. So this is just kind of a flow chart of how the development approval process works in this sequence. Usually it's the rezoning approval, an approval of development agreement in this case for this particular development, subdivision or site construction approval, and that involves a preliminary subdivision and a final plat subdivision, the legal document that actually records the lots. Then we go through our development clearance certificate, which usually approves the building placement in each lot. Then it goes to building and trade permits with Guilford County, and then building construction commences. So although it does go through that flow, and we do have multiple phases, we kind of circle around this section because we're working on multiple phases concurrently. So it's not a one and done. We're done with the subdivision approval or site construction. Since we are working on phases gradually, we always go back on approving each subdivision one by one, and as they go, the phases, we approve more development clearance certificates to continue the construction. I do want to talk about the development clearance certificate process, of which my department has oversight over. The development clearance certificate, and in short, we just call it the DCC, is a key step before building permits can be obtained. The DCC confirms that development plans meet all town requirements, and the review ensures subdivision infrastructure has been approved, home placement and setbacks comply with approved plans and the development agreement, and also that the development agreement conditions are being followed. Once the DCC is issued, the developer can proceed with obtaining building and trade permits with Guilford County. Guilford County would not allow any permits to even be applied without that DCC. They're very strict about that, so I always have applicants, whether it be from this development or a commercial development, come back to me, hey, I need this DCC. So they do a really, really good job to safeguard, to ensure that the town does their review. As far as the current status of the project, it's moved to the construction phase. Subdivision approvals have been completed for the initial phases of the development, and infrastructure installation has taken place. So currently we have final plat approval for phase 1A, and that's the first few set of homes that you see along Mackey Road. And then we're currently reviewing phase 2A, and sometimes during development we have to break up a phase even more, so we have phase 1A and then 1B. But we are currently preliminarily reviewing phase 2A and phase 6, and also want to add phase 3, the apartments, was approved. So they're currently starting construction on that pretty soon. Oh, excuse me. Infrastructure installation is still underway for the remaining phases. So far for phase 1, 48 DCCs have been approved. So those are the homes that you see out there on Mackey Road. And 2 were just today. So it's a progress day by day. And of course, D.R. Horton has begun construction of the homes in the Kinsley subdivision. Also want to say it's not just the town of Jamestown and Kinsley doing it by themselves. This requires a lot of coordination and in tandem work with other entities. For example, Guilford County and various departments from Guilford County, fire, building inspections, addressing has been key to getting all of these lots addressed appropriately. Soil erosion and fire have also been involved in the site review process. Pinecrotch Sedgefield Fire Department has also been involved just to ensure safety. Of course, NC Department of Transportation and NC Department of Environmental Quality do their reviews as well for the project. Also utility companies, Duke Energy, Piedmont Gas, Spectrum, we're all communicating with each other to ensure that all the utilities can be placed there, that we have easements for these utility providers, as well as the postal office to ensure mail delivery for these. So I just don't want you all to think it's just the town and the developer. Is a team, a larger team, to ensure that local and state rules are being followed. And if you have any questions, Matt and I will be happy to address them. I want to say that I started here September 2024. Even though I missed a lot of the process, I am committed to ensure that the development meets the development agreement. I made sure the development agreement is being cited in each DCC, each preliminary plat, each final plat to ensure that we follow that development agreement. So I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Why don't the phases go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Like, why is it going to phase 6 all of a sudden? I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Not that it matters, I'm just curious of why
Yeah,
it works like
it's the
that.
choice of the developer. So currently, so we're starting here. So in a way, actually, it does make sense because phase 6 is a little bit closer to Mackey
Oh,
Road.
okay.
So
I wonder
it
why
looks-
they called it phase 6?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it looks like they're kind of going from north to south
Yeah,
in a way, and then with this being kind of the last part. So, any other questions?
I guess a couple of questions for me. In the amended and restated development agreement that's been approved now, you know, beyond the, I guess, addition of section 13, which is the section that really talks about the apartments and the change of how they're viewed in terms of ownership and HOA accountability, those kinds of things. Was there anything else in that restated agreement that was like that besides that one change?
That was it. That was the only change, just to clarify that the multifamily only had to follow a portion of the development agreement.
Okay, and then I know the agreement speaks to both minor amendments and major amendments. And I would assume that along the way that you've been working with the developer, the team here at town's been working with the developer on certain types of what I call modifications to the site plan and sort of getting things in a better alignment with standards and regulations and those types of things. So have you made and agreed to sort of minor amendments as you've gone along through the process with them?
Correct. The attorneys agreed that this was just a minor amendment that only needed an administrative approval.
Okay. And the last thing that I had is more just of an observation. When I read through the agreement again today, there's a section 4.1 in there that talks about site-specific development plan. In the last sentence of that, it says the town has determined that all necessary elements and requirements in the LDO and any officially adopted plans for a site-specific development plan and a PUD zoning have been provided. And then it says pursuant to the LDO, the plan may be modified from time to time as development and construction plans are prepared and submitted to the town. So I just think that last sentence is important to point out that sort of two things. One is, you know, what's in the amendment or the amended and restated development agreement in the way of exhibits really are just illustrative. They're not the official recorded plat plans or other documents that are out there. And then secondarily, from time to time, it's been my experience when you get into these development projects, whether they're small developments or large ones like this, there will be things that happen along the way that you have to work with the developer on and make changes. And I think from what I've seen in the officially recorded plat versus what's being put out there now, they appear to be consistent with what's been recorded. So anyway, thank you for the update. I appreciate the information. And I think this session tonight is helpful to me and hopefully to the community as well, just to better understand, is this dynamically sort of happens from a grading kind of operation to an actual infrastructure development, now houses. And then before long, we'll have to provide town services to them. I just think it's good for everybody to understand how that process really works.
Thank you.
I think the reason that I don't have too many questions is because you have been so helpful over the past couple of weeks. And it's really refreshing. And I think, too, I might even ask if anyone has really burning issues, that you're a great person to talk to. And one of my favorite subjects all along, the Randleman watershed rules. I know it's one of Matthew's favorite subjects. I appreciated being able to sit down with y'all last week around a big table and sort of, for the first time, we talked about what we saw that was different in each, in the LDO and the rules, and kind of agreed to just sort of keep talking about that until we until we can get some consistency and clarity. So,
I appreciate the mayor, and for all council, if there's any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Happy
Yeah.
to talk to y'all.
thanks.
Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Jose.
Okay, if we're ready to move into the second part of tonight's session, and that is, we're going to talk about the legislative agenda setting for the town with Brian Lewis and Sky David of New Frame LLC.
Madam Mayor, Council, it's an honor to be before you. I am Brian Lewis. My business partner, Sky David, is over here, and we're here to talk about the legislative agenda. Thought, before we got into it, in the spirit of transparency for you and the public, we would kind of talk about where we are in the legislative process. Session is to begin April 22nd, so next month we will be at the General Assembly as they begin their short session. So the General Assembly is broken up into 2 different years. Odd number years, they have a long session, and they come in January. They adjourn sometime around August, and in that 8 to 9 months, they're supposed to write a budget. Now, I don't need to tell you that we don't have a budget. If some legislators were here, they would tell me, yes, we do. We have an evergreen budget from last year, and it's still going on, so the prisoners aren't let out of prison. We still have roads, and kids are still going to school. But the fact is, we haven't modified our budget in 2 years. We are optimistic. Current events play into this. Politics plays into this. That we are going to have a budget this short session. So the short session is designed to be a modifying budget. We are going to get the whole kit and caboodle this year, is what we are being told. Of course, politics is politics, anything can happen, but this is what we are being told. With that, Matthew, we can get a little bit in. Oh, good, okay, all right. So before we go down this road, this was made on an Apple, and we're putting it on this computer here, so let's see what happens. So right now, just as an overview, and you may know this, I don't know if all of the public knows this, but the General Assembly is comprised of 71 Republicans in the House, 49 Democrats. That means that the General Assembly is controlled by Republicans and has a supermajority -1. So they need 1 Democrat to come over and vote with the Republicans in the House to pass any legislation to get through a veto of Governor Josh Stein. In the Senate, we have 30 Republicans in the Senate, 20 Democrats. That is a supermajority. So they have enough votes to override any gubernatorial veto. Now, the reason I'm showing you these 8 gentlemen, and they are all gentlemen on the right side, is that these are what we would call the leaders, the corner offices, the cardinals of the General Assembly. So Speaker Destin Hall, we have John Bell, he's the Rules Chairman, Representative Brendan Jones, and Representative Donnie Lambeth. Winston-Salem, big budget chair. The lower corner is led by Senator Phil Berger, your current senator here in Jamestown. Bill Rabin is out in Brunswick County. Michael Lee is a budget writer and majority leader in Wilmington, and Ralph Heiss is out west. Now, all due respect to all 170 members of the General Assembly, and we certainly do respect all 170 members of the General Assembly. But when you're talking to Representative Alan Branson, who is your representative here, he will likely tell you that, yeah, I can do that. I want to do that. I'm going to run this by the corner office. I'm going to run this by leadership. And what he's referring to is I'm going to go check in with the Speaker's office to see if this fits in with our priorities. Now, one of the benefits of Jamestown at this current moment is the corner office in the Senate is the person who represents Jamestown, and that is Senator Phil Berger. Now, a lot of conversations have been had about Senator Berger in the media. We don't need to get into that. Just check your local newspaper. But we do know that Senator Berger, at the very least, will be your senator through December 31st of this year. We also know that Senator Berger is an institutionalist, that he very much believes in running out the string here. He has said this to reporters who have asked him about this, and all indications are that he is going to be our champion for this short session, and maybe even beyond. I'll let other folks speculate about that. We have had Senator Berger. I know we have a new council, a new mayor. We have had Senator Berger here in Jamestown last year as we were in the long session, and we were trying to think about, were we going to have a budget? We made a pitch to Senator Berger and his staff about our needs for a new fire station. In fact, not only did we make the pitch here in Town Hall, but we went across the parking lot and spent about an hour, not only in the fire station itself, but in the dormitories, and absolutely no pushback on our need. What the discussion really turned into was how we were not going to have a budget last year for other extraneous pressures that have nothing to do with Jamestown, has nothing to do with fire stations, has more to do with tax cuts and children's hospitals, and not us. So with that, there has been, I just want to say, there has been some speculation about who would run for the pro tem position, who would be in Senator Berger's place if, by chance, he is not in that seat next year. Senator Todd Johnson is someone who chairs the Commerce Committee, but he is down in Union County. If Sam Page does prevail in the election, to the public, this is more to the public, he does not become the pro tem. So we are looking at cultivating new relationships for the town. With that, any questions about this, Madam Mayor?
Not so far. Anyone else? Very interesting.
I don't have any questions about the structure. I do have, maybe get an observation from you about what they're currently talking about or doing both on the House side specifically and the Senate side about tax reform, and maybe you can touch on that later.
Yeah, I can. Let's talk about where power is in the General Assembly. I like to show this to folks, especially when we have an opportunity to be in front of the public as well. But we talked about those legislators that are in the corner offices. This is where they reside. You see power here in the Triad area. Of course, Senator Berger lives up in Rockingham County, but there's the Triad West, and then there seems to be Eastern North Carolina with Senator Johnson down in Union County. So taking Senator Berger out of this graphic, you can see that power does still reside in the Triad, but it is really with Representative Donnie Lambeth in Winston-Salem. And Representative Donnie Lambeth is a great budget writer. He is what we call a big chair, responsible for putting together the budget for the House.
One question on your map. Where's Senator Heiss at on that map?
Yeah, I think that got dropped off, but he is out in the far western tip of North Carolina. He has, I think, about 10 counties. They're less populated.
Okay.
Yeah. Want to talk about the hierarchy that and this really underscores the power of Senator Berger and Representative Lambeth. And I just want to say, first as a caveat, this is a ecosystem that I work in. This is not a power structure that I necessarily endorse, but this is the way the game is played. And so when we report to Matthew and to you about work we are doing on your behalf, you might hear that we are dropping a lot of Republican names in front of you, or chairs of committees that may have no relationship to Jamestown. That is because we are working within this hierarchy that is very real. I realize that I'm right now in front of a local government where partisanship doesn't seem to matter. It doesn't appear to matter. Our dealings with other local governments, that is the case. In fact, when we talk to representatives that come from local government, the first complaint they give is, it was less partisan back at the town council or the county commission. Well, the General Assembly is very partisan, and so the structure is the Democrats certainly are at the bottom of this rung. There is no filibuster in the Senate. There is no filibuster in the House. It is a simple majority passes legislation. Then you need a supermajority to overcome a veto. So you really do see bipartisanship with the threat of a veto, ironically. That brings out the bipartisanship. But if they can get it past the governor, chances are all they need is the majority plus one. And so Democrats then rank and file Republicans, and then you have committee chairs. From there, you get to the big appropriation chairs, Senator Ralph Heiss being one, Senator Michael Lee being the other, Representative Donnie Lambeth, and then you get to the leadership or the corner office. Again, can't underscore enough. Going into this short session, you have the Senate President Pro Tem as your senator, and he is the person that we are engaging with to get the resources you need, not only for the fire station, but for the bathrooms in the park across the street. We do believe that Representative Alan Branson will be a committee chair next session, going into the 27-28 session. I don't have a crystal ball to tell you which committee he's going to be the chair of, but from looking at the trajectory of the committees he serves on and the position he has as vice chair on the Appropriations Committee for Transportation, I think he is going to be your next House Transportation Chair. So we'll let that play out. Who knows what happens next year? We have an election to get through in November, so who knows what the General Assembly is going to look like next year. But if all things stay the way they are, you're looking at your representative gaining some seniority and some power going into next year. Any questions about this one? Okay. I want to talk a little bit about the budget process. Generally, an idea comes from us pitching a local legislator. It could be Representative Branson, it could be Senator Berger. Hey, we have an idea, we need $10 million for a fire station, and they put in a bill, or they don't. They don't have to put in a bill. From there, that idea goes to the subcommittee. The subcommittee on recommendation, a subcommittee dealing with appropriations takes all of these recommendations, and the subcommittee then sends it up to the full committee. So whether it's education, transportation, health and human services, general government, whatever it is, it's going up the ladder. From there, it goes to the big chairs. Now, at any one of these stops, a new idea can go in and an old idea can go out. It is a constantly fluid situation. It is very much unlike, I'm sure, the way you put together your budget here in Jamestown. It is playing whack-a-mole every day, all day. And then the final stop is with the corner offices, the leadership. And this is where we started with Jamestown, and this is where we are ending with Jamestown as it pertains to the fire station and the park bathrooms with Senator Berger's office. We started with him, we're ending with him, and we're hoping that this is something that will be a part of what we estimate to be about a $33 billion budget this year going into the new fiscal year. Madam Mayor, that's all I have, but certainly we'll take on questions and would love to talk about the tax reform issue as well.
There was the bill to do away with ETJs. What happened there?
That particular bill did not make crossover, so as of now, it's not eligible to be considered in the short session. It has to pass one chamber or another by a certain date to remain eligible. And I know that got a lot of discussion from towns, and that language could go into a different bill, so I'm not saying it won't come up again, but as of last year, it kind of dissolved.
So, Madam Mayor, we did talk, and we are in talks, of course, with the League of Municipalities, of which you are a member. And so when it comes to those macro issues, we are a part of a team of not only the League of Municipalities, but other municipalities have lobbyists as well. So crossover is a date. I don't know if maybe for the public, that is a date that the General Assembly sets and says if the bill doesn't pass one chamber by this date, it's dead for 2 years. But as Sky indicated, you can put things in budgets or you can put things in other bills.
One of the questions I had was, I know there's been stuff happening with the General Assembly trying to restructure zoning authority for municipalities. What's happening with that? I mean, we live in Guilford County, you know, which is very close to Summerfield, and we saw some stuff happen there. And is that kind of thing I'm trying to ask gently, and I'm not doing a very good job, so I'll just ask bluntly. Is the General Assembly trying to take zoning authority away from municipalities?
That is something that you're always watching for, because that is certainly something that developers or certain members of a community can come ask their legislator for, and there are legislators who have taken that action. So that is something we're watching, yes.
I will say this about Summerfield. I do think Summerfield and what you saw there was a very unique situation. A lot of politics there, and we saw it in the last couple weeks here as an election ended in that area, but I think Summerfield is unique.
Okay. We had a very close Summerfield situation here. That's why I asked.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it didn't happen, but it
Yeah.
easily could have.
Yeah.
We had different representation at the time.
I think some lessons have been learned. I will just say that. Mr. Westmoreland, about tax reform.
Yeah.
So one of the issues between the two chambers is tax reform. The Senate would like to do more tax cuts, and they have 3 tax cuts that are phased in over the next few years. This was a deal that was struck between the Senate leadership and the House leadership. In the last year, we have had new House leadership. Tim Moore, former Speaker, now serves in Congress, and we have a new Speaker of the House who has come in and has said, that doesn't look good. We're not signing off on any budget that cuts taxes like that. And so one of the stalemates is over tax reform. The Senate has always been, let's cut it, and the House has been, let's preserve these dollars for expenditures. I shouldn't say always, but in the last year, they have put down some pretty heavy markers. The fact of the matter that the House was willing to not have a budget shows how serious they are about that.
Yeah, maybe I should have been more specific. I'm interested in what's happening with the property tax review, both by the House and what's been sort of set up by the Senate as well.
No, I understand. Yes, thank you for that. All indications are that local property taxes will be looked at by the General Assembly in the short session. We do not believe, well, let me back that up. The House has put together a special committee to look at this. At first, and we reported this to Matt, at first we thought, well, this is something the House is doing. It's probably some politics going on. There's some suburban legislators that are on the bubble, if you will. And we were smooth sailing until the Senate put together a work group. They didn't form a committee, but they did form a work group. So we are bracing for that battle in the short session. What comes of it is up for debate, but we know we are going to have the debate. Yes.
Next week, the House will have another committee meeting, and they've had presentations in those meetings, but they haven't actually submitted draft language. I do expect to see draft language next week on what the House thinks they want to do around property taxes, and that will be certainly something we will be communicating with the league and you all about.
Also like to mention that there is not uniformity even among the Republican caucus, just to be blunt about it. Had a conversation, Sky and I did last week, with Representative Stephen Ross, former mayor of Burlington, who serves in the General Assembly. Don't want to put words in his mouth, just say there is not uniformity about supporting this.
So I had one other question. So I know you and your team have been doing work for us on sort of shepherding the fire station request and the bathroom request. Where does that currently stand? What are we actually asking for from Senator Berger and other legislators at this point in time? And then, I know we're still developing information on that plan. Is there a sense of timing as it relates to the development of that plan and any kind of dollar ask that we might have, and how would that sort of translate itself into what we might need to do?
Yeah. So our ask to Senator Berger and his staff is that we are asking $10 million for the fire station, and I believe it is $500,000 for the bathrooms at the park across the street.
And where did we get those numbers from?
So those numbers came from the staff. They're our best estimates as what it would take to complete those two projects.
Okay. When do we think we might know or have better estimates in? Because it sounds like we've got a chance. Again, this is all sort of a wild. That wild might not be the right word, but it's just an attempt that we're sort of efforting here to get some support of the General Assembly, and I would assume that with everything that's happening right now, the sooner we have a better estimate, we could go back and ask that number. So some of it is, what is the timing of the plan right now, and when would we expect to have that sort of updated estimate?
So the plans for the renovations or reconstruction of the fire department are currently underway. We won't have a solid number. All right, feedback. We won't have a solid number on that until they complete those plans, but those are our best estimates given the square footage needs that have been identified by the fire department when they did their initial study, and based on construction costs around the state, an average dollar per square foot for that. So we're bracing for the larger number and hoping for a much smaller number. And the estimates for the Ren Miller Park bathrooms have been, we've done that over the last few years. We're in the construction phase for our bathrooms at the park, which will be similarly sized. So we have a good grasp on those numbers. We believe them to be around $450,000.
So is any of that currently in any budget information that you've seen that's come out to date with the General Assembly? I know they don't have a budget yet, so to speak, but.
Yeah. So they have not been working on a budget since they left last summer. A lot of energy has been put into recent events. I'll just leave it at that. And what we are told is that budget writing will begin, and we could see either a big budget or mini budgets, but we will start to see numbers. Now, we will likely not get any indication of, you probably won't see this in a budget document until a budget document drops. But that's just their process. They don't roll things out, even at the subcommittee level. They used to do that 20 years ago. You'd get a subcommittee report, you'd get a full committee report, you'd get a big chair report, and then you'd go through the machinations of leadership. But that is not the process followed.
And one other thing, describe for us how a local bill process works.
Yeah. So if it's in a long session, which we are not in, if you're in a long session, a local bill would be sponsored by your local legislator. It only has to be one. And so if you wanted Representative Alan Branson to run a local bill for you, that is a bill that only pertains to Jamestown. It is confined to Jamestown. It does not affect Thomasville. It does not affect Burlington, Raleigh. It only is confined to Jamestown. A local bill generally is very much deferred back to that legislator. You might get questions from the rest of the delegation as it pertains to Guilford County, but for the most part, very deferential, unless it is something that they might see as problematic, or maybe my town might be asking for that next. In any local bill, it has to pass the House and the Senate, but one thing about a local bill, for some reason, back in 1996, when we put together our veto legislation that went into our North Carolina Constitution, we exempted local bills from being vetoed. So they are not allowed to be vetoed. Let's talk about the short session. This is a cultural thing, not a rule. But in the short session, a local bill theoretically has to be signed off by every member of the delegation. There needs to be a kumbaya around that. And so,
Delegation, you mean the Guilford County delegation?
yes, if it is affecting them or they feel like it's affecting them, they can weigh in. And usually what will happen if there's controversy going into that local bill, the Speaker or Senator Berger will say, we don't do these kind of bills in the short session. Now, why would we do that in the short session and not the long session? My theory is this, and this is something that goes back, predates me. I've been working at the General Assembly for 20-some years. It keeps mischief from happening right before an election as it deals with local politics. And so they wanted there to be some sort of agreement that, okay, everyone has to sign off on that. Again, it's the culture, not the rule. I have seen that bypassed in the past. But a local bill is something that you would ask Representative Branson or Senator Phil Berger to run for you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Council.
Thank you. Thank you.
And if there's nothing else, anyone have anything else to add, say? If not, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you.